Hey guys, since we're going to play Civilization next weekend, and I don't anticipate you guys actually reading the rules, I thought I'd do a quick overview of the game. So the first part I'm going to start with is just to look at the components, and then I might do one also on the turn order. So I've got the game set up here as a two-player game. One player is playing the United States. You can see Honest Abe there as the leader. The other player is Germany with Bismarck as the leader. So let's start with what each player gets on their, as part of their setup, and then we'll look at the market board, and then we'll look at the actual board. So let's see. First of all, this is a little turn summary. Turn summary on one side, production costs on the other, just kind of a cheat sheet. We also get this handy little civilization starting setup card, which on the other side shows you starting traits, which is like all units start with a travel speed of 2, culture hand size of 2. So that's kind of helpful. This is the player board. You can see 2 dials. The outside dial tracks trade, which is this little arrow symbol. I don't know if you can see that. And then the inner dial tracks coins, your economic status. This is the special ability for the Americans. Each of the civilizations has a different starting ability. And then these are the governments that you can use. You start off with despotism, which basically has no effect, but then you can unlock different governments based on culture cards, and when you do, you change this card, and each government will give you different things. If you unlock a government, the very next turn you can switch to that government for free. If you don't switch at that time, then you have to go through a turn of anarchy, which means you have to skip your the city phase of the turn. Let's see. Next up, these are the settler, or they're called scouts actually. They're the same as the settlers in the computer game. You start with one, you can also build another one. These little flags represent your armies. Now they're not individual units. The individual units are these cards. These just specify where on the map your armies are. And then every time you get into a fight, you'll actually draw a certain number of unit cards. So you start off with one, if you can see that, with one army, and then you can build several more. These are your cities. You start off with a capital city, but you can build up to 2 more cities. Your cities have a +6 defense, but if you unlock walls and you build walls, you can flip it over and you get a +10 defense, which is handy, I'm sure. This is your deck of culture cards. You can see every civilization starts with one starting culture. And the way it works, see, this is a 1 culture. Instead of having I mean, these aren't culture, I'm sorry. These are, these are your techs, your starting technologies. You start with the starting technology. And then instead of having a tech tree like in the computer game, you have a tech pyramid. So basically what that means is to build a level 2 tech, you have to have 2 level 1 techs. And then, I can't shuffle or can't get these with these. Then you can build a level 2 tech. So to build a level 3 tech, you have to have 2 level 2 techs, and then you can build a level 3 tech. And actually one of the victory conditions of the game is to build spaceflight, which is a level 5 tech. And there's only one of these. So if you ever get your technology tree all the way up where you have 2 level 4 techs, and you can build a level 5 tech, you can pay for it, you win the game. So those are your technology cards. These are your units. Each player starts with 3 units. One artillery. Let me just show you. This is artillery. One infantry, and one mounted. So if we look at these cards, they look real confusing, but they're really not. You start off at level 1, which is indicated by one little chevron there. So if you're at level 1 for infantry, that means whenever you play one of these infantry cards, you're going to be the level 1 guy, the spearman. Now these numbers here, the 2 and the blue, explosion thing, those are actually kind of randomized in the cards. When you buy a unit, you're going to randomly pick a card. But overall, you got your spearmen have a set range. When you unlock a tech to let you upgrade to level 2, all of your spearmen become pikemen, which are better, and then riflemen, which are even better than that, and then modern infantry. They're really great. So you can imagine if you have modern infantry, and you're going up against a civilization that's still back here with pikemen, you're going to have an advantage. And they all work the same way. You can see that the level 1 for artillery is a catapult. No, level 1 is an archer, sorry, and then you get a catapult, a cannon, and then mobile artillery. For this one, for the mounted, you start off with with knight, and then you go to cavalry, and then you go to tank. Oh, whoops, I missed one. Horseman, then knight, cavalry, and then tank. This right here is just the starting player token. It gets passed. All right, let's look at the game. Let's get the market board. Is what this thing over here is called. It looks real confusing, but it's really not. Over here, these are the wonders. So you can start off with ancient wonders. This is Stonehenge, the Oracle, the Hanging Gardens, and the Colossus. These wonders are real expensive. You can see these are 10, 15. That's real expensive, but they give you some really great stuff. And when someone buys a wonder, you get the little thing to put on the board, and then we'll draw another wonder. You can see these are the ancient ones. There's also medieval wonders, and then there's modern wonders. So you can build the Statue of Liberty. Over here are the buildings. These are the different buildings that you can build using production, and each one has a cost, and each one will give you certain things. Now when you build a building, I'll show you on the map, you'll put it on the outskirts of your city, and then this will give you more stuff during your production phases. The reason that there's not these second buildings, can you see that? Yeah, these second buildings are actually on the back of the first one. So when you unlock a bank, all of your markets automatically upgrade to the bank. And I have read that it's better to buy stuff as like a market, then upgrade, and suddenly you get all these banks, as opposed to buying a bank, because you can see it's more expensive to buy a bank. And once you have unlocked a bank, you can't go back and buy a market. You have to buy a bank. So these are all of the buildings. Then down here's a trading post, and right here is the harbor. Over here are the units: infantry, artillery, mounted, and then these are aircraft. And you can see these little markers here indicate what level each player is on. Aircraft, you can see these markers indicate whether someone has unlocked aircraft. When you unlock aircraft, you can buy airplanes, and that's pretty cool. If your airplane's dive bombing somebody's spearman, you're going to do pretty well. The bottom part of this board is the culture track. You can see Abe Lincoln's face here, Bismarck's face here. When you move up to culture, you get to draw culture cards, which give you cool stuff. They also do specific things at certain times, giving you great people and stuff like that. And then if you get to the very end, if your marker gets to that, you win the game with a culture victory. Now to move up the culture track, from here to here, it costs 3 culture for each space. From here it costs 5 culture plus 3 trade. And from here it costs 7 culture and 6 trade. So you can see it gets progressively more expensive. But also the cards you draw, you go from drawing 1 card to drawing a 2 card to drawing a 3 card. And I've heard tell the 3 cards are much better than the 1 cards. Finally up here, these are the tokens for the other wonders. This is the space flight that you win. These are cards that you get put in if you have special bonuses and stuff during combat. And then this is a stack of great people that you randomly, when you draw a great person, you get to draw from this stack, which I just ruined. It was all nicely stacked. Finally, let's look at the board itself. This is set up as a 2-player board. For more players, it'll be a different shape, more spaces. Let's zoom in on America's starting space. You can see my capital city, Washington, I assume. This is my starting army, this is my starting scout. And America has a special ability where they get to start with a great person, so I randomly drew, I think this must be like Leonardo da Vinci or something. Now the way the board works is each space has different icons on it, and you gain during phases, you gain what the icons are in the outskirts of your city. The outskirts are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces around your city. So you can see on before the game even starts, you get to gain production. So I gained trade. I gained 1, 2, 3. And you can see I moved my trade marker to 3. Now you also get coins, and you see usually you start with no coins, but since I had this great person here, I gained 1 coin from that. An interesting thing about great people and buildings is that when you put them in your outskirts, they actually cover up what's there. So see, if I had put this guy here, now I would get 2 production and 1 coin, but I wouldn't get this production. So since I put him here with nothing, then I still get that production, plus I get this 2 production. Now you can see there's kind of a fog of war thing there. These tiles are covered up, but when a scout or an army is adjacent to a covered up spot, you can spend 1 move to turn it over, and then you always put the arrow where you're going in, and you can see that's slowly the board will be revealed. All right, so that's a little overview of the components. Then next I'll go over how you win the game, and also the turn order, and then maybe I'll play a turn or so. So thanks.